9 early purses were made of leather, of woven rushes, or of cotton. Since they were in the form of bags, they were drawn together and secured at the neck by means of leather straps or other cords. See bag. Also in use was the girdle purse, literally, girdle. Gr. Zoini. Mount 10. 9. Mr. 6. 8. Perhaps a type of money belt. Either the girdle had a hollow space in which money could be carried, or if the girdle was made of cloth and worn in folds, the money was kept in its folds. Jesus, when sending out his 70 disciples in preaching work, evidently in Judea, told them not to provide themselves with purses, indicating that Jehovah God would provide for them through fellow Israelites, among whom hospitality was a custom. Luke 10. 1, 4, 7. Shortly before his death, however, Jesus advised the apostles to carry purses, for he knew that his disciples would soon be scattered and persecuted. Because of official opposition, even persons favoring their message might be afraid to assist them. Also, they would soon be carrying the kingdom message to Gentile lands. All of this would require that Jesus' followers be prepared to care for themselves materially. Luke 22. 35, 36. Highlighting the excelling value of spiritual things, Jesus urged his followers to make lasting purses for themselves, acquiring heavenly treasure. Luke 12. 33. Put. The son of Ham. Ge 10. 6. 1 ch 1. 8. Although Put is mentioned elsewhere in the Bible, none of his individual offspring are named. Often his descendants lent military support to Egypt. Ge 46. 9. Es 30. 4-6. Na 3. 9. They served as mercenaries in the armies of Tyre and contributed to that city's greatness. Es 27. 3, 10. It was also foretold that Put would be among the forces of Gog of Magog. Es 38. 5. Available evidence points to a connection between Put and the Libyans of Africa. In 3 of its occurrences, Put is rendered Libyans by the Greek Septuagint and the Latin Vulgate. Ge 46. 9. Es 27. 10. 38. 5. The Hebrew Put also corresponds closely to the Put usually considered to be Libya of Old Persian inscriptions. However, Nasham 3. 9 seems to indicate that Put and the Luvim Libyans are separate peoples. But this in itself would not rule out identifying Put with the Libyans. The term Libyans was perhaps more comprehensive than the Hebrew designation Luvim, as may be deduced from the reference made by Herodotus 2:32 to Libyans, many tribes of them. The identification of Put with the Punt of Egyptian inscriptions is not generally accepted today for phonetic reasons. Puteoli pu middle dot to o middle dot li. In the 1st century CE, chief ports of Rome. Paul arrived at Puteoli on his way to stand before Caesar in Rome about the year 59 CE. Act 28. 13. With the help of Aes wind, his ship arrived on the 2nd day at Puteoli from Rhegium, a place some 320 kilometers 200 mi to the Sea. Christian brothers of Puteoli entreated Paul and those accompanying him to spend a week with them. Act 28. 14. This indicates he enjoyed some freedom, though a prisoner. Earlier, while in custody at Caesarea and Sidon, Paul had similarly benefited from limited freedom. Act 24. 23. 27. 3. Puteoli is generally identified with modern Pozzuoli, on the bay of the same name, about 10 kilometers 6 mi wsw of Naples. Extensive ruins of an ancient O-textoi acute Muritra Longo, 718 Cope. The 19th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. In translating Hebrew names where it occurs, Cope is usually represented in English by C or K, as in Canaan and Kish. The sound is stronger than that of the letter Kaf and is pronounced farther back in the throat, as a strong English Q formed at the back of the palate. In the Hebrew, it is the initial letter in each of the 8 verses in Psalm 119. 145-152. Quailheb. Slaw. A small, plump-bodied bird, about 18 centimeters 7 inches in length, that spends most of its time on the ground. Its flesh is very edible, and it is reported that by 1920 Egypt was exporting some 3 million quail annually to foreign markets, though though this exportation has since decreased. The birds described in the Bible are evidently the common migratory quail Coturnix, which move northward from within Africa in the spring, arrive in Egypt about March, thereafter pass through Arabia and Palestine, and return at the approach of winter. They travel in large flocks, making their migration in stages and often flying during the night. Their wings allow for speedy flight, but not for very long distances. Because of the heaviness of their bodies in relation to their wing strength, they sometimes arrive at their destination in a state of exhaustion. Quail, therefore, fly with the wind and customarily fly at rather low altitudes. Colonel Richard Meinitz-Hagen relates that in Port Said, Egypt, men at times used butterfly nets to catch quail as the birds fly down the streets at dawn. Birds of Arabia, Edinburgh, 1954, p. 569. The first reference to quail in the biblical account X16. 13 is with reference to events in the spring X16. 1. And so the birds would have been flying north. The Israelites were in the wilderness of Sin on